4. We are live. Hi, everybody. Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. Today, my special guest is Comics with Stevie D, Mr. Steve Driscoll himself. Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hello, how are you? Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you here too. I've been wanting to get you on for a little bit, so I'm glad to see you here. Just before we get completely started here, I just want people to point out that we are 66 subscribers away from the big giveaway. So we're going to get there soon. It's going to be a wonderful time. And now I'm just going to say hello to my chat. Hi, chat. We got Kay Munin. Hi there, Andreas. We've got Nate at Hall Yeah Comics. We've got Tyler at Pocketful of Comics. We've got Renegade Rants Comics. And Lyle's here. Hi, Lyle.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, Lyle is going to be my guest next week. So basically what we're going to do today is we're going to do some little parts. I'm going to do a part where I show you books and you're going to give me your impressions of the cover. Then I'm going to ask you about the book that is outside of your comfort zone you like. Then I'm going to have you show your books. And then we'll do our trivia. Hi, Christina, sorry. Welcome to the show. So, and when it comes to trivia, of course, everybody in the chat is welcome to try and guess as well. And we've also got and the same thing when I show the what your reactions are. Feel free to be as snarky as you want to be, chat. Chat involvement is what it's all about. Okay, Stephen, what have you been up to lately before we get started on your channel?
Well, I've been busy writing my Christmas shows. I've been getting books all year long, and I divided my Christmas show into 3 segments because it would have been too long. 2 secular and 1 sacred.
That's great. I'm glad to hear it because Christmas covers are actually quite a reasonably popular theme for comic books. I've seen quite a few people who like Christmas covers. I believe Tyler at Pockets Full of Comics is a collector of Christmas covers as well. I think I saw that on his channel the other day. Well, great. So without further craziness, let's get to what I call first reactions to covers. This one I'm going to start with is Adventure Comics 310, and it's what I call a stupid pet cover. Because as you can see there, we've got a talking dog and Superboy is barking. What is your first reaction when you see this?
I hope the dog had its shots.
Yes. Well, luckily the dog is invulnerable, so it's not like it's going to be rabid and stuff. I've always liked these weird covers for Superboy, especially with Crypto in the 1950s after and 60s after he was introduced. There was a lot of covers similar to this. Hello, Renegade Rants.
Oh, now okay. I can see on my device here. I got one for the camera and one for seeing what's going on.
Okay, the next one I'm going to show is I'm going to make big here. I can still hear you. Is Laugh Comics 391. What's your first reaction when you see this?
Them girls need a little suntan oil.
Yep. Luckily, they've all got suntan oil on the beach with them because that would be otherwise. Hello, welcome to the show, Comic Collector Coach. Glad to see you. Okay, so yes, I find that they're very interesting because Archie can't concentrate on anything else. I mean, just look at that face. And of course, Dilton's got his nose in a book. Third cover we're going to show tonight is from the Janet J. Pedigree collection. In other words, she'd written on there and then crossed her name out on the cover. This is Falling in Love 56. It shows, hang on here, a woman on a horse with the riding instructor in the background, and of course, the third girl to make the triangle.
Well, my first reaction is I like horses on covers of comic books, and I also like the scenery in the background. It presents the forward objects on the book very nicely.
Yeah, I read this today, and honestly, the best part about this book cover is actually they took a panel from the book and turned it into the cover. Like, not directly, they drew it bigger and they drew it with more detail, but I really like covers like that because that really helps stand out with the book too, in order to show a lot more. Sorry, that's funny. Nate, here's Nate's comment. He writes, "Horse dude looks like he's cutting a nonchalant fart." That's what I want to see. And that's a Karen on the horse. SideQuest Comics says girls and horses. Just saying. Next up, we've got Batman Confidential 20. It's a cover with a Batman, Batgirl, and Catwoman. Batgirl and Catwoman were just having a cat fight, and they were ripping each other's uniforms as well. And of course, Batman had to come and sort of ruin that. First impressions?
Well, I really like Batman covers where he's large on the cover and where the cape is really expanded. I like that very much in Batman covers. And he's coming to the rescue of one of them gals at least.
This scene is not in the book at all. The cat fight happens, the rips on the uniforms happen, but the jumping off the building is only Batgirl and Batman. Last one up is a Christmas cover. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's not your. Hi, Lau. Good, you can make it. It's not your usual Christmas cover. Okay, this one is Christmas Caroline annual number 1, and it's more horror themed Christmas than anything. That is blood dripping off the big candy cane.
Well, I don't really know what to say about that one.
Well, would it help if you know that this is a book where the girl Carolyn is an elf who has been banned from Christmastown, and
Well,
she's decided to come back and get revenge against Santa Claus for banning her.
Well, that makes sense now.
I actually really enjoyed this. What's a little disappointing is there's a second part, so now I have to go out and get it. I would agree too, K Munin. Vamp Blade 1 looks very similar in my mind. I can see why you say that. Okay, so that concludes our first part of the show where I call First Impressions. Next up, Steve, I'm going to ask you to show a book that is outside of your usual comfort zone, but you really like it. And tell us why.
Okay.
I'm going to make you big.
What I have is Spaceman number 9 from 1972. And I ordered this from my comic shop. And if you notice right over here, there's a marker. Well, there was marker all the way through the S and the P and the spaceship. I'll bring it in closer. and they had 5 cents on his helmet, of all
Mhm.
places. So what I did is restoration. I've never really done this before. I took little white labels and taped them into the right places, covering up the
Mhm.
black marker, and then coloring it in with pencils. And I did the same thing up here, and I had to get in between the letters, and I'm still working on the P.
Mm.
And I'm not comfortable with restoration, but from a distance, it doesn't look too bad.
That's right. It looks legible. And so, what's the book about?
Well, it's about they go to the moon and they recapture the moon so they can have a base to explore space with. And this one guy's the hero. I forgot his name, and this is a cadet. And so they
Right.
travel in space, having adventures.
That's cool. And how is that outside of your usual comfort zone? Are you not a big sci-fi fan?
Oh, I love sci-fi. It's the restoration, doing the restoration on the comic book. That's outside my comfort zone.
Fair enough. Awesome. I'm glad to see that at least you're trying. Restoration is not something a lot of people do, so you're attempting it is quite interesting to begin with. I know that people do a lot of cleaning and pressing, but restoration, because people are worried about what they call the purple and green labels of death. They are always concerned about doing that sort of thing. But I'm glad to see that you're not concerned with it in that sense, and that you are fixing the book for your pleasure. That to me is something that's very important.
Oh yeah, and I called up their customer service, and I told them I had marker all over the cover. Can I get another copy? And they said we would, but there was only 2 in stock, and you got the better of the 2. So they credited me for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, do I have to send it back? No, I got to keep the book. So I figured, well, why don't I fix it up? Because it really is a great period space
Yes,
cover.
it is. It's a Dell book by the looks of it, eh? So
Yeah, it is a Dell book.
do you know
What?
what year it is?
I think it's 1972. Let me look at my notes. Uh, yeah, 1972. Jack Sparling and Tom Crook are the possible artists. It doesn't give them credit inside the splash
No,
page.
Dell wouldn't do that with the cover artist. That's for sure. Okay, next up, we're going to do the we're going to do the section where I want you to show the 5 books you want that you like, and then tell us why you like them.
Okay. Uh, this is Iron Man Annual #1, and they called it the King Size Special. And it was the last book I needed to collect volume 1 of my Iron Man run. And I had all the other ones and collected other annuals this past year, but this was the last one I collected. And it's Don Heck and Gene Colan are artists, and
Mm-hmm.
it's reprints stories from Tales of Suspense number 79, and it's from 1970.
Very nice. I like the cover very much.
He's battling uh, like the Titanium Man and the Submariner, so he's got his hands full.
Submariner back then really liked to fight with people. He didn't seem to get along with anybody.
Okay, now the next book I want to show is this is the book I had from.
Oh,
This was
that's
the last book I needed for my Captain America run, which I completed this year. But if you notice down here, it says Marvel. So it was a reprint of the
mm-hmm.
book, and I needed 5 or 6 books to complete Captain America. And so I mentioned it on my show, and Mike from Casino Comics sent me this
Oh,
because
very nice.
He knew I needed it to complete the run, so I
Gotcha.
have
Book.
the original and my placeholder. And
Mm-hmm.
Mike was real cool to do that. All right. Now,
Very nice.
my next one is Hulk Gray, which I got this as a um, I got this from Big B McFly on one of his sales. That's where I
Nice.
got this one, and I really liked it. And it's Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and I like the simplistic artwork in there. And this takes place in the first 48 hours of the Hulk's uh, being turned into the Hulk.
Oh, now that's a cool
And he
concept.
gets away from the army uh, and General Ross and all those, and he runs across this little gray rabbit in the canyons. And
Mm-hmm.
so he picks it up and he goes, friend. And then this is the most beautiful it's a centerfold. It shows him on the canyon cliff with the rabbit in a real peaceful mode. He doesn't want to be a monster, you know. And the only reason he became one, he was saving a teenager. So eventually, the army wants to stop the Hulk. So who do they pull in? Iron Man. So his
Of
first
course.
battle he had with a superhero besides the army was Iron Man. And if I get close, you might be able to see his Hulk's reflection in his
Yep.
helmet.
That's pretty good picture.
So I really, really enjoyed this. Uh, the art, like I said, not a lot of text, a lot of story told by pictures. I like that. Okay. And this one is the Avengers and Defenders War from 1973. And this was all about nostalgia for me
Right.
because that's when I collected comic books for the first time when I was a kid in seventh grade. And I thought it was the greatest stuff. The Black Knight is stuck in stone, but his essence and the soul is in another dimension. And he was with the Defenders, and they're trying to save him. And Doctor Strange sends a message to him, and he sends it back, but it's intercepted by Doramu and Loki, and they use that, change the message to pit the Avengers against the Defenders. And so they have a bunch of battles, and uh, the really best two battles was Captain America and Thor and the Hulk. Well, in the Thor and the Hulk, can you guys see that?
Yes, I can. That's very
They were
good.
in this pose for hours, a test of strength, a test of wills, and it's going on, it's going on. But luckily, Captain America and the Submariner come together in their battle, and the battle was going back and forth. And they realize that they're being manipulated, but they don't know who yet. What Doctor Strange is having them do is go all over the world trying to collect the evil eye, this artifact, and it's in 7 pieces. So there's 7 battles, and they can use the power in this magical artifact to bring the Black Knight back to life, to the right dimension universe. So that's that one. And then I read it again, and I enjoyed it very as much as I did it the first time I read it. 45 years ago or something like that. Okay. And my last one is a beautiful painted cover, and I love this cover.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And it's Fables, which I only have about 13 other issues of, but it's the last 13 um,
Of the run.
of the run, yes, and it's a complete storyline, and that's on my reading list. But I saw this book on Pop's Comics. He shows hundreds and hundreds of books on his show in one episode, and I saw it. And what I do is, I don't know if other people did. I freeze the frame, and I figure out what the number was, and I go looking for that book. And I was lucky enough to find it, and this is Waiting for the Blues. Instead of waiting for the bus, they're sitting at a bus
Right.
stop. And the cover art's by Mike Buckingham. I haven't read the story. I just love the artwork. I display it behind me because I just love looking at it, you know.
Oh, it's a
And
fantastic cover.
yeah. And those are my 5 books.
Awesome. Before we get into the trivia, I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. What
Okay.
was it about comic books that made you interested in them? Like, what got you interested in the comic books back in the day?
Well, it was in the schoolyard. Kids brought their comic books, and I was lucky enough to live half a block from a 7-Eleven, which had a newsstand rack, and it was right next to the Landshire Heat 'em Up sandwiches. And so I'd have to go to that store all the time to get sodas and stuff for my parents,
Right.
and I'd go in there, and they were only 20 cents at a time when I was collecting, and I saved my lunch money and bought 4 books a week or so. And but I found a better place to get comic books. It was about 3 or 4 blocks away at a pharmacy, and it was a real quiet news rack where I could stand there and the pharmacist couldn't see me. And I'm reading, I'm reading issues and putting them back and getting the ones I want. And I could stay in that store a long, long time and enjoy myself. And the pharmacist was cool with it. He saw me a bunch of times and never said anything.
The only time I've ever gotten kicked out of a store, I was reading, it was Return of the Jedi 2 from the miniseries of Marvel back in the day. I was in a store I wasn't familiar with, and the owner was a bit cranky. And I was about 15 cents short at the time to buy the book. And so I started flipping through it, and he's like, "It's not a freaking library. If you're not buying, get out." So it's like, okay. So I just remember that because it's like the only time I've ever been tossed for being broke, so to speak. So following that, you were a school teacher. How
Yeah.
many comic books did you have to take away from your students?
Well, it wasn't comic books that was disruptive. It was cell phones and video games.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
what kids were into.
all right.
And kids read novels and stuff, but I never minded kids reading, because I figured they're learning how to read, and if you learn how to read, you can learn how to do stuff. That was my logic on that. But cell phones and video games, I had to confiscate them and give them back at the end.
Yeah. Well, as someone who has a slight dyslexia, I found that comics helped me a lot learning because you had the picture there and you were able to figure out the words based like the words. Okay, well, this is going on in the picture. How do the words fit? And I found it made me a much better reader as a result. As an adult, I can read legislation now because of all this sort of stuff.
Oh,
It's something I do in my job. I'm a legal.
well, before I had comic books, I was 4 years old. My mother had a subscription to Dr. Seuss books.
Right.
And we'd sit on the couch and we'd look at the Dr. Seuss books, and I associated pictures and words right away.
Mm-hmm.
And then, believe it or not, when I learned how to read in first grade, it was Fun with Dick and Jane, where see Spot run. And it has Spot running in front of the 2 kids. And my father used to take the Sunday paper every Sunday, and he'd give me the comic strips, and
Crypto run. Crypto stands up. See Superboy fly.
Yeah. And my dad would read the paper in his easy chair, and I would lay on the floor reading the funny papers. And so I just liked it from the get-go and got into comics in middle school, where I was actually seeking them out.
Yeah, K Munin is saying sometimes they had Yu-Gi-Oh cards. See, I haven't been in a school myself since well, I mean, I went to college in 2001, but I haven't been in a high school or public school since 1990. So it's kind of interesting that back then I had my comic books and the teacher was like, "Put that away." But I mean, that was the kind of people. Hello, Cohen's Comics. Welcome to the show. All right. What is your favorite? Sorry. What? Okay. Besides the Captain America run, what are you most proud of as a comic collector?
Well, I have
Putting.
the Iron Man run too.
Oh, very cool.
So I have those two, and that's what I'm most proud of. I have Iron Man Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to now.
Right.
I'm just missing a handful of books, and I collected him in one shots, and whenever I saw him in the dollar bins on other people's covers, I'd grab it, just to have another copy of the character, my favorite character. And Captain America is my other favorite character. He's smart. Captain America is smart. He has courage, and he's a great tactician in battle, and he's a leader. And Iron Man's more of a loner, uh, um, and he relies on technology, but he also has a hero's heart. I really hated it in Civil War when they battled, when the Marvel Universe picked a side and they battled.
Right. I actually thought that was pretty cool, especially since what it was a government, as far as I'm concerned, overstepping their bounds.
The
And
Federal Superhero Registration Act.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, if you're not going, if either ban it or let them be. This registration thing smacks like I want control of you. I want to be able to say, okay, Spider-Man, now I need you to fight in Guatemala. That's what it feels like to me. It's almost like they're being drafted, so to speak. And it's I was on the team that if I was to pick one, it was the Team for Freedom, not the ones that wanted to register.
What started that war was an inexperienced superhero team, and they were doing a reality show, and Nitro, they were chasing them down, and who's the Submariner's cousin, the girl named
Namorita or
yeah,
Namora?
Namora, that's the one. And she had Nitro pinned up against the bus, and he exploded and blew up the school and caused like a 9/11 tragedy.
Right.
And that brought everybody's attention to the heroes, and
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand in a way why they did it, but again, the path to hell is framed with good intentions, and whenever a government like that gets involved, it can only go bad. We have a question in the chat from K Munin. Steve, are you a Marvel or DC guy?
on Marvel. 95% of my books are Marvel, and then DC and smaller amount of independence.
That's cool. All right. Well, let's move along to our trivia. And I invite everybody in the chat to get along with it. As you are the guest, Steve, you can ask the first question.
Okay. Here we go. Here's an Iron Man question. Iron Man has many devices built into his armor. The most commonly known are repulsor rays, jet boots, unibeams, AI heads-up display, and super strength. Can you name 3 more things he has built into his suit?
Oh, boy. Oxygen supply?
Oh, yeah, that's there.
Let's see. A bladder for his bladder?
I don't think they've discussed that one.
Yeah, well, they've always discussed that about Batman, about the Joker. It's like, does he pee his pants or not? Okay, so we got the oxygen supply. Well, you didn't mention rockets, but
Rocket
then again,
boots.
he's got the rocket boots. Yes, sorry, the repulsor base. Hello, Biggie. Halya asks bottle opener.
Well, I have a couple of examples. If you got two so far, so anybody in the chat wants to chime in? Or?
Let's see. Well, the computer. You didn't mention the computer.
Well, that's the artificial
Oh,
intelligence
yes,
heads-up
yes.
display.
That makes sense.
I took everything out of the movies that people would know, and then I left three fun ones, and I have examples of them.
Lots of transistors, earplugs. Biggie Shack would like you to repeat the question.
Okay. Iron Man has many devices built into his armor. The most commonly known are repulsor rays, jet boots, unibeam, AI heads-up display, and super strength. Chat, can you name three others?
Well, the third one seems to be Lyle says earplugs. You know, though, K Munin, that's there. If Alan was to build the suit, then yes, there would be a secret compartment for naughty magazines. Let's see. Proton cannon.
All right, I'm going to give you one. This is from Tales of Suspense 62. He's battling the Mandarin. And what he has, this is from 1965. What he has in one of his gauntlets, he has a diamond edge switchblade.
Okay.
And he is tied up with titanium straps. And he pops that switchblade out in the first over here. Can you guys see it?
Would he also happen to have sonar to detect incoming?
Oh, well, with his computer, he has a scanning thing where he can scan. You know, he looks in a building and he can see warm bodies, kind of like the Predator. He's got scanning devices in his suit also. So you got three. All right. And what I have is rocket powered roller skates.
Right. I remember seeing that.
And this is from Tales of Suspense, number 45 from 1963. And this is the essential Iron Man, and I colored it in so you could see him.
Mm-hmm. I said that before you got here, Biggie.
and he can go 200 miles an hour in these things. And the Army was interested in him to put him in Army boots so they could move troops up and down highways real fast. Instead of walking, they could use them rocket boots. And then there's a few more I'm just going to mention since I'm an Iron Man fan. He had the ability to demagnetize his armor, so when he fought with Magneto couldn't get the drop on him. But on the other hand, he could magnetize his armor, and he could fly up to a passenger jet and fly across the Atlantic Ocean without using any energy. And he'd turn on his headphones and watch a movie or listen to music, and they have his power reserves full when he got to where he needed to be. That's kind of cool. And he has an EMP blast where he can just stop everything around. And that's he's got other ones, but those were kind of cool. I thought I mentioned.
And was he immune to the EMP blast, or did his suit turn off during it as well?
No, he was immune to it. In the recent Iron Man series, he was fighting an army of Sentinels. Spoiler alert, everybody. And he had built Sentinel busting armor, which puts the Hulk busting armor to shame. Like I'd like to see him battle the Hulk in the Sentinel busting armor because it's humongous too. Because he wears the suit inside the suit, kind of thing.
Cool. Well, my first question is one you will probably get, but let's see. I've made 3 questions: one Marvel, one DC, one indie. That's what I tend to do. So, my question to start is the Marvel one. What was the first appearance of MODOK? That's for you too, chat.
I'm thinking it's in Tales of Suspense somewhere
It is in Tales of Suspense.
because there's the first appearances left and right all through that series after it's monsters, space aliens, and all that until 39. Then it's Iron Man by himself until 50 something, where he battles Captain America. That's one book that I'm going to get. That's for next year, I'm hoping. And then from there, they share the title till issue 99, and then they break off, and Cap gets his book starting at 100, and Iron Man gets his starting at 1. But MODOK, I can only tell you, this is probably in Tales of Suspense.
It is Tales of Suspense.
I would guess Captain America.
Yeah, he was in the Captain America story. Biggie is right on both because he had a cameo appearance in 93 and his first full appearance was 94. So I would have accepted when I asked these questions, I would accept either because as I said, I'm one of those that subscribe that the first appearance is the first appearance, and cameo or full, they both count for me. I'd rather have more first appearances than less. So your turn, Steve. What's your second question?
Okay. Like you, I did 2 Marvel and 1 DC. So I'll do the DC one now. Okay. Can you name a Marvel character who Superman teams up with to save a city from destruction? And who were the 2 villains in the story?
Well, I believe it's Spider-Man. And the villains are Lex Luthor and the Green Goblin.
That's another comic book that I don't know about and don't have. But you get it. But let's see if the chat knows. There's a real cool one with it's a comedic comic book.
Well, we're getting Parasite and Doom, Dr. Doom and question mark. Yes, that would be the Riddler, right? Right, Nate? And Lex and Green Goblin and Immortal. The Biggie Shack is saying comedic. I don't know that one. So I would say for the comedian, it's either the Toyman or the Prankster. But I have no clue who's comedic for Spider-Man.
All right, here's the reveal. It's the Silver Surfer.
Okay, Silver Surfer. All right.
And the 2 villains are the DC guy, I don't know how to say his name. Mr.
That's Mr. Mxyzptlk. Okay, and the Impossible Man.
Yes, yes. Nice. And what happens is these 2 guys discover that they exist, and they're happy because there's so much alike, you know.
I'm amazed. I've never heard of this book. That's awesome.
And then when they find each other, one of them's a huggy kind of guy, and the other one's not.
Yes,
and I would in the bottom panel,
man, a hugger.
And one guy says, "Get your spindly paws off me, you pickle-headed freak." You know,
well, that's pretty cool.
That's the DC guy. Mm-hmm. And they get together and they want to mess with Superman and they want to mess with the Silver Surfer, but across the universe. So they're messing with those 2. And eventually they trap a whole city, and people could die. They're inside. It looks like a ticker tape machine.
Jeez.
So they're
I
trapped
think,
in there,
I think
and
we've all decided that this book is cooler than the ferret.
oh yeah, I looked up a ferret cover. I can't remember the number, but it's a greenish cover. I like,
Right. Very
and
nice.
and so like all villains, they turn on each other. So they turn on each other, and when they do that, Lobo's getting ate by Galactus, and they're battling everybody. Batman is uh, uh, they're just going through a change of where a DC person's battling a Marvel person, and it's going back and forth until they kind of exhaust each other. But
Awesome.
I thought it was a funny book, a really entertaining book.
Those two are it's comedic and sadistic. I think it's great.
One of them's meaner than the other.
Yeah, well, Mixoplitlick, okay. The Impossible Man to me seems more, I'm just want to be funny and liked and loved, where Mixoplitlick is an actual prankster and has a bit of a mean streak to him. So he has been bothering Superman since the 40s. So I would imagine, it's been a craziness. And if you ever see the Man of whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, Mixoplitlick is the big bad in that one. So, okay, so we've got my second question. My DC question is, what are the superpowers of Chameleon Boy from the Legion of Superheroes?
We're going to have to refer to the chat on this one. I would guess that he could change his appearance, maybe imitate other people or superheroes. But
he is a shapeshifter. That's right.
But that's all I'm guessing. That's a pure guess.
Yes, but the name gives it away. He is a shapeshifter. So way to go. Okay, time for your third question.
Okay. All right, this is a Captain America question. Why was Captain America so determined to join the army?
Because he was a weakling. I mean, like he was the stereotypical 98-pound weakling who wanted to do his part in the war. And because he couldn't get into the army, he decided to volunteer for the Super Soldier Program.
Yes, that is correct. Everything you said is correct. But there's a deeper reason.
Okay, what's the deeper reason? I don't know. I don't know that part.
All right. The reason he went to the extreme of being a guinea pig for the Super Soldier Serum was when he was a child, he was artistic. He drew. He was a puny little kid. And he had an older brother. His name was Mike.
Okay.
And Mike was athletic, muscular, excelled at all the sports. And his father really liked him because his father was a macho guy. Yeah. And Steve gravitated toward his mother because he was an artistic child. Mm-hmm. And so what happened? They grew up and became men. And Steve went off to art school, and he would hang out in Greenwich Village with the early hippies, the beatniks. Yes. That's who he was hanging around with. And his brother joined the army, and he was stationed at Pearl Harbor, and he was killed in the attack. And what he wanted to do was to avenge his brother and gain his father's respect for becoming the kind of man his father wanted him to be. And that's about it. But later on in Captain America, they used that kind of story to plant false memories in Captain America's head. Okay. But that's a whole different story. But that's the reason his brother got killed. And he would have been happy just to go on to art school, which he's an artist. in the Marvel Comics, and he applies for a job at Marvel Comics, and he gets the job, and they said, "Man, I'd be the editor. I don't know who it was. Goes, I'd be crazy if I wouldn't hire you. He has portfolio and all his stuff's great." And then Captain America goes, "Well, what do you think you'd have me drawing?" And they said, "Captain America." And that's
Ah,
real surreal. It's only
right.
2 or 3 pages, but I thought that was really
I
cool.
never knew that about Captain America. To be honest, most of what I know is from the movie, sadly, because I haven't read enough. I've read a bit of Captain America. Don't get me wrong. It's just his origin doesn't play into the books I've read. I've read a lot of the early '80s to mid '80s and his appearances in the Avengers and the Invaders. So there wasn't a lot of the background like that. So
That's the secret origin of Captain
okay,
America, the personal origin.
gotcha. Well, it's a very cool story. I got to admit that sounds cool. I mean, I didn't know he had a brother right off the bat. That's a good way to start it. All right, my last question. It's Dark Horse Comics. What was the first appearance of Abe Sapiens?
I'm
This one's
stumped.
a little off the wall, but I have to have a hard one to go with the.
Oh yeah, I'm stumped. I don't know the character.
Well, we'll give the chat a chance to look it up on Google. I know that's what you do. I've done it myself. Dude. By the way, next week I'm going to have Lyle Hobson on the show, and there may or may not be a ferret book in the 5 first impressions books. Yes, side quest. That's the Hellboy guy. And the answer is not Dark Horse Presents. This one actually is not a regular book. This is I'm not sure if it's a one-shot or a miniseries. Yes, side quest. It's the guy who's played by Doug Jones in the movie and voiced by Niles Crane there. So it's not the Tick, Lyle. The Tick is not a Dark Horse character. Okay.
I think the Tick had the biggest jaw in comic books.
The amazing screw-on head. Okay, the Tick. Yeah, Chairface Chippendale, Thrakazog, American Made. Oh, wait, those are all Tick characters. The answer is Hellboy Seed of Destruction. That is the name of the book that he makes his first appearance, which surprises me a little because I always thought he was a bigger character than it was, but it turns out he wasn't that big. But because he was in the movie and he was a big key character in the movie, I thought that Abe Sapiens was bigger than that. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. I really appreciate every one of you that's there in the chat. And as I said, we're 66 subs away from the big giveaway. So hopefully that'll be soon. And thank you all for coming tonight. Steve, thank you very much for for being my guest.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Join us again next Tuesday night when my guest will be Lyle Hobson. And in 2 weeks' time, I've got a special guest lined up as well. All right. My name's Matt, and I like comics.
He likes comics.
And I hope you do too. Thank you, everybody. Good night.